Welcome to this episode of Life Science Success. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Don and I'm a digital marketer in life sciences. And as we get started here, let me just bring in my guest. So, our guest today is Lauri Befus. She is the Vice President of Clinical Operations at M3 Wake Research. She's a leading integrated site network in the United States. And so, with that, welcome, Lauri.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Nice to chat with you today.
Yeah, same here. So, would you mind just telling us a little bit about what is it that led you to clinical research in life sciences?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would love to say I had this grand plan that led me into the research that I do now, but that would be absolutely lying. I kind of fell into it, and I feel like most people in my industry did as well. It was actually a family member that suggested it. I finished my master's and was looking to figure out what to do with my life, what I wanted to be when I grew up, and ended up being a coordinator in the phase one PPD unit here in Austin, Texas. And the rest is kind of history. So continued on in clinical research and have done a variety of jobs and gotten to know a lot of wonderful and amazing people that have certainly lent to my career being as successful as it has been.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And so, I mean, I guess, what did you study for your master's?
Yeah, so it was a very unique program. It was actually in London, England. It was called Music, Mind, and Brain at the University of London. It was only about 20 people total. And all around the world. So I was actually the only person from the United States in my class. It was a very, very interesting program. It kind of combined music, psychology, and neuroscience. My master's thesis had to deal with music and advertising. So definitely research through and through my undergrad, my master's, and then continued on just in different capacities.
Oh, very good. So, let's talk a little bit about your career prior to M3 Wake Research. So, what did you do prior to where you are now?
Absolutely. So, I mean, like I said, I started out as a coordinator, honestly. So, kind of ground level in the phase one unit. I was a coordinator at multiple places. Moved my way up to a CRA. Worked as a operations manager, site director for a variety of site organizations, CROs. Even worked in medical device at a sponsor for a short stint as well. And then I've been with M3 Wake Research for the last year and a few months, and it's been an amazing experience. So I will say it's really valuable having kind of worked in all of the different capacities. You get to see how everything floats together to make it all work.
And so, in terms of your overall career, what were some of the key milestones that you feel like you've achieved, and then also, what are some of the bigger sort of challenges that you faced in your journey to your current position?
Yeah, I mean, I think a key milestone for me was being given the opportunity to be in management. So I worked as a coordinator, like I said, I worked as a CRA, but that flip over into management was a huge milestone for me. And it was actually, I kind of fell into it. Somebody recognized kind of a potential, gave me a shot. They actually made a position for me, which was so humbling and so honoring at the same time. And allowed me to really expand my career from that perspective. So that was a fantastic move. I've really, really enjoyed being in leadership. It has its challenges, but it's extremely rewarding. On the challenges side, I would think there's quite a few. I mean, particularly in the life sciences side and under pharmaceutical research in particular, the industry is relatively volatile, right? So we have many, many changes that go with the ebbs and flows of everything else in the world right now. But specifically, what kind of drugs are coming to market this year? What are sponsors wanting to spend money on? What are we focusing on in terms of, is there a pandemic? So I think the challenges and ability to adapt is a major challenge. Also, I mean, being a woman in leadership has also been kind of a major challenge throughout my career. I know it may sound kind of cliche, but that's an avenue that I think I've had to learn to understand and navigate, and really enjoy mentoring those that are also trying to come up through leadership as well.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because in a recent podcast, I know we talked about a similar sort of thing, that it's kind of interesting to watch organizations who have little to no diversity sort of expand and then think that, hey, look, now all of a sudden I've got, enough perspective. But at the same time, the question I frequently would ask, even as a leader, is how do we know that we really have captured, kind of the real perspective of the people that we're either affecting, or the people that we're trying to most influence.
Oh, absolutely. I will say I'm very happy to be a part of an organization that is extremely diverse in that perspective, open to brainstorming, mentoring, promoting from within. Really, really honored to be a part of an organization that supports it as much as they do.
Excellent. So why don't we talk a little bit about M3 Wake research? So what is it that you do, and what is the organization all about?
Absolutely. So we are a site network. We wholly own and operate all of our sites, and it's quite a few sites across the United States. So we are just within the states right now. We primarily focus in phase 2 and 3 research, but we do some phase 4 as well. We do almost every therapeutic area outside of oncology. However, stay tuned because we're hoping to get into oncology here shortly. And so, I mean, primary focus is bringing new therapies to our lovely participants and patients that absolutely need it. So, our mission that we absolutely live by is how to advance human health and well-being by accelerating getting these drugs to market.
Do you get to use your neuro background at all in that?
To some extent, yeah, we actually run quite a few CNS trials. We have some psych trials as well. So we run the gamut in terms of therapeutic areas. It's really, really exciting. There is never a dull day, and there's also the ability to constantly learn. I think every day is a chance to learn something new. I don't think I've ever had a boring day in my career thus far.
Very good. So, let's talk a little bit about your role. What specifically do you focus on in your role on a day-to-day basis? And then, what does the broader, more strategic look like for your role?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, from my standpoint, how I view my role is how do I empower my teams? I have hired some amazing individuals, and there were many, many amazing individuals that were here prior to me coming on at M3 Wake Research. So, for me, it is getting out of their way and supporting them how best I can. I'm not here to do their job and micromanage. That is absolutely not my goal. My goal is how best I can support them in doing the best job that they absolutely can. So primarily a support role. My is a service of what can we implement, what can we make more efficient, how can we cut out some of the nitty gritty of the day to day to ultimately get our job done a little bit smoother, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So, let's talk a little bit about the types of clinical trials. You touched on this just a moment ago. What types of clinical trials does M3 Wake Research currently conduct? And then also, how do they impact patient care and healthcare outcomes?
Yeah, absolutely. So that kind of goes back to that phase 2, 3 trials again, some phase 4, all therapeutic areas. So, we range the gamut. We have the CNS trials, we have endocrine trials, we even have, the healthy patient volunteer vaccine trials coming up here shortly for us for the fall. So, flu, COVID, treatment trials as well. So, we really, really run the gamut. It's very dependent upon the site. We have a lot of wonderful physicians and investigators that work directly with us in terms of what their specialty is, what their interest level is, and then obviously what the community best needs in terms of support. So looking at what the diversity is, what the main pain points are within the specific community that our site is located in, and then trying to match that with trials that we can find that would best support that community.
And I mean, I guess from the diversity standpoint in the clinical trials, um, how much overall, can you impact that in your role at M3 Wake Research?
Absolutely. In terms of diversity in like participants within the trials, I mean, us offering staff that speak the language or translation services, or ensuring that we're working proactively with our sponsors and CROs to ensure that translated documents are provided. That's all absolutely top of mind. So I know getting out into the community, working within these specialty kind of groups within the area, support groups, even whatever we can do to help kind of educate. I know I hear a lot of the time, I don't want to be a guinea pig. Well, completely understandable, and that's absolutely not how we want it to be perceived, because that's absolutely not the case. You come in, you see a physician, you're very well taken care of. Honestly, you don't have to have insurance to come and participate with us. You're paid for your time, you're compensated for your time. So certainly educating about what all is involved in clinical trials really, I think, is the top line supporter when it comes to diversity in clinical trials.
How much do you see? I mean, I've always had this question in the back of my mind because I don't really, I'm not really involved on that end of the clinical trials. So how much do you see people that really are, I guess, between a rock and a hard place in terms of treatment, right? Where they're looking for a treatment where they didn't have one before. How often is it that versus there are other treatments that are out there, but somebody's, maybe involved in a clinical trial because of some other reason?
Absolutely. No, that's a fantastic question. It really depends on the therapeutic area, to be perfectly honest with you. So I've worked in GI a lot, where maybe they've tried all of the other opportunities out there, and it hasn't worked for them. However, that's an extensive part of our informed consent process. So when a participant comes in to see us, that very first visit, it's really going over the benefits and potential risks of that, and then any sort of alternatives that might be out there for them, and then discussing, what is the best choice for you. And that might even be a discussion with their regular physician as well. What makes sense for this person, what's actually going to be most beneficial, and then of course what can their lifestyle accommodate in terms of maybe their insurance or lack thereof, and then how best can we support them moving forward.
I feel like your answer just somewhat crossed this question as well, but I just want to make sure that we cover it, um, just in case. So, what strategies have you implemented to align clinical teams, processes, and technology to optimize research outcomes?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think for me, there's so many potential vendors in the research world, and there's more every time I go to a conference. We're kind of almost bombarded with potential vendors that we could use. So I think for us, it's taking a little bit of a step back and figuring out what vendors and what systems can we utilize to actually standardize across everything. What can we do to just have one system throughout? So that was a big focus for me when I got here, making as much electronic as humanly possible so we're not inundated with paper everywhere and having to archive them. The cost behind that is extensive. And then investing in whatever technology is going to best streamline and support throughout as well. And I don't think we've necessarily perfected that. It's an ongoing thing to see, what could be bigger and better out there. But then also streamlining across the entire organization. We have roughly 18 sites coast to coast right now, and they were all utilizing potentially different systems before. So reporting was difficult for us to figure out exactly what was going on. But now moving forward, all under the same system, all utilizing the same processes.
That's very good. Can you talk about any of the innovative projects or initiatives that you're currently working on at M3 Research?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to brag on one of my coworkers for a moment. She works in our clinical affairs department, and I lovingly refer to her as the principal investigator wrangler, if you will. She has done a fantastic job of going out into the community and building relationships with physicians throughout the community to help support referrals and actually getting the word out there that these trials are there to support that community if they so want and need. So I think that that's been one massive project that has occurred over the last probably 9 to 12 months that has been a huge focus of hers. I think for us, we have also implemented a project manager over our multi-site trials. So an individual joined us about 6 to 9 months ago, and she's done a fantastic job about streamlining communication, kind of being that liaison between our sites and our sponsors and CROs. So that communication is not having to go out to each of the 6 or 9 or 10 sites that are participating. It just streamlines through one individual. So makes everything a little bit faster, more efficient, if you will. and helps us get started up a lot faster also. So I think those are a couple of the biggest initiatives. We've already kind of spoken about the technology, kind of leveraging that to assist where possible, but that's an ongoing project for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the clinical trials that I've been involved in the past just involved a lot of paper, a lot of binders, a lot of
Yes.
oversight, just some
Yes.
brilliant people to try and keep track of a lot of these things in their head. And
Yep.
so, yeah, having the technology supported is so important.
The amount of times I've been asked to download what was in my brain and hand it to somebody is phenomenal. So yes, and I mean, I started out. I mean, it was paper CRFs. There was no electronic data capture system. It was carbon copy paper CRFs that you had a plastic sheet in between, and you had to write hard enough to get through 3 pages. So, yeah, no, electronic systems are fantastic. I think now we're just asked to use so many from our sponsors and CROs. So streamlining from that perspective would be very beneficial, cost saving for them and more efficient for sites. So that's certainly something we're hoping to partner with them moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what are some of the company's goals for the next few years, and then how do you see your role contributing to the goals?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, for us, it's continuing to expand, but in a thoughtful way. So, it's not, we don't have the goal of just growing to grow. It's being a thoughtful expansion in terms of what therapeutic areas could we potentially continue to support and expand. How many more investigators want to participate in research? How can we expand the footprint more in the United States to support these communities that actually really need it as well. So I think that is top of mind for us. My job is to help support that from an operational standpoint. So, how do we stand up a site there? How do we work with a physician and get them the experience they need, the tools that they need to be successful? And then partnering with all of the other departments to make sure that that happens. Let's find them trials. Let's get them supplies. Let's find them staff that's appropriate so they can continue to grow.
Yeah, so important. What's
Mm-hmm.
the greatest leadership advice you've ever received?
It's kind of a funny one. So for me, I think my job is to make other people's job easier. Uh, so I am a huge proponent of. I know I hire really smart people. I know I'm around really, really smart people. So I want to get out of their way and let them do their job and support them to the best of my ability. So, what can I provide? What can I streamline? What can I mentor, help train, how can I download kind of my experience and give to them in terms of making their life easier, is removing those barriers, those unnecessary barriers. Being an active listener, honestly, I've been fortunate to have some wonderful mentors and leaders in my career. So what can I take from them to be the best leader that I can be?
Yeah, it's interesting to me because as I'm around more and more leaders as well, I feel like one of the greatest, well, two of the greatest things that leaders can do. One, of course, clearing a path, as you mentioned, but the second one, just being that sort of inquisitor and just
Mm-hmm.
trying to sort of get the best out of people
Mm-hmm.
as well. I feel like those are two of the greatest things that I see demonstrated over and over again in some of the greatest leaders that I've been around. Um,
Yeah.
and it's not necessarily being the most brilliant mind, which is kind of funny to me because I feel like early on in my career that was my belief. That was like
Oh,
these people are really brilliant in their own right, and so you kind of look at that and think that's what you think a leader is, and then all of a sudden you sort of figure out that leading from behind is really some of the best leadership you could ever have.
absolutely. No, I mean, I work with people much smarter than me. So how can I best support them to be as successful as they possibly can be? I mean, I think one of the biggest things at M3 Wake when I first got here, there wasn't really the feeling that the environment was safe to collaborate, to push back, to really brainstorm, to I don't want to say argue, but essentially argue. And I'm happy for that. We have brainstorming sessions all the time where I'm like, yeah, I think we should do this. And somebody brings up something else that I'm like, well, okay, yeah, no, I'm wrong. That makes total sense. Let's run with it. Let's see what happens. So, I mean, it's having the space to allow people to express themselves, make the environment actually a safe place for them to feel comfortable to say what they need to say.
So important. What inspires you, Lauri?
Um, in our career, in our industry, I think it's the real impact, the real world impact that we have the potential to have. I've seen so many wonderful drugs come to market. I worked on the ondansetron trials back in the day, so the Zofran trials when the hepatitis C drugs came out. I mean, obviously working through COVID. We worked on the original vaccine trials there. That was amazing to witness. Like warp speed for us is it was an insane time, but getting to see the real world impact that we have, that we can actually provide something that can be life changing to these participants and patients is pretty amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. What concerns you?
So when I started as a coordinator back in the day, I will say the protocols were a lot simpler than they are now. So the complexity of the trials is significantly higher than it used to be. And then obviously the growing costs surrounding it as well. I mean, it's something as simple as working with our lovely and amazing budget and contract folks. We're reaching out to these local labs, and now they have startup fees for everything, which sounds stupid, but it's $500, and then it's 1,000, and then now it's 1,500 per study. So that's something that we're going to try to pass through to a sponsor and CRO, but they come back at us and they're like, "Wait, why are you doing this now? You've never done this before." Well, now we're being charged that. So it's all of these things that add up. Several years ago, I was at one of the major conferences, and they were saying on average, it's what 7 vendors that a coordinator utilizes per trial. So it's probably even more than that now. That's a lot for somebody to keep track of. That's a lot of management. That's a lot of time. And there's usually very little support from a technical standpoint. So I think just all of those things combined make it very difficult for us to be effective when we're actually enrolling and recruiting these trials, which ultimately boils down to the participants and the patients um, not getting these drugs to market as quickly as possible because of these barriers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Last question. What excites you?
Um, so with those barriers, there's also a lot of innovation. So AI coming into the field here, it's a little bit scary. I think everybody's trying to figure out how best to utilize it in our industry still. But from mining participants in EMRs, that's very helpful. From being this co-pilot, I know David was on not too long ago talking about his tool, which I absolutely love. I think that that's a fantastic use of AI. That's something that could be a game changer for a lot of coordinators in terms of training. So I think there's a lot of really wonderful uses. I think we just need to hone in on how best we can use it. The systems are not perfect, so figuring that out is going to be a game changer for us.
Yeah, having the having the ability to sort of know where some of the decisions were made, as well. Just having that transparency with AI is so important. But also, I mean, I feel like the speed is just some unbelievable in terms of the things that you could see AI churn out in rapid succession. That is a great help in general. I know for the things that I do as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, it'll be very interesting to see how all it's utilized. I'm sure it'll be utilized in protocol writing and whatever else. But from the site side, certainly there's a lot of potential use that I don't think we've even realized yet. So that'll be an exciting thing to witness.
Absolutely. Well, Lauri, thank you so much for being on the Life Science Success Podcast. I greatly appreciate you being here, and thank you for sharing with us the stuff that you're doing with M3 Wake Research. And I wish you all the best.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Thanks a lot.